is 7:35. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the February 13th meeting of the New Rochelle Public Library Board of Trustees. As I said, it's 7:35 p.m. and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone. We'll start off with approval of minutes. Everyone should have received the minutes for the January 9th regular meeting and our special meeting that was held on January 31st. I'm going to start with the January 9th regular meeting minutes and ask for a second. Tatiana Infante is seconded. And I'm going to open up for any questions or discussion related to the minutes. Hearing none. There's a second. Do I have all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. And the January 31st special meeting, the minutes from the January 31st special meeting. And may I get a second? Seconded by Corey Galloway. And I'm just going to open it up for discussion or questions related to the minutes. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to regular business and start with a report by our Westchester Library System representative, David Mena.
Hi, good evening. So the Westchester Library Service Board committees were finalized and approved for the 2025 calendar year, which included the election of slated officers, President Nishat Hidari, Vice President Anthony Amiano, Secretary Diane Tabakman, and our treasurer, which is appointed, is Maureen Blanc. We reviewed the 2025 budget, which was previously approved, just going through some of the finer points of the review for the upcoming year. Pertinent to member libraries is that the member library fees were projected to be about 2.5% above the 2024 budget. Variety of reasons for this, including employee wages, increase in benefits, and such. Trustee handbook book club sessions, which counts towards the trustee continuing education requirements. There's a few that I listed, including one April 30th, 2025 from 5 to 6:30 p.m. It's in regards to development, recruitment, orientation, education, evaluation, July 15th, 2025 from 5 to 6:30 p.m. under retaining quality staff, and then November 18th, 2025 from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Next level trusteeship, building an effective and impactful board culture. To register, go to the Handbook Book Club website, which I've listed as under the Mid-Hudson Org Trustee Book Club. Any questions?
Any questions for David?
Yeah. Thanks. February 25th. February 25th.
February 25th. Thank you, David.
Sure.
For the president's report, I'm looking forward to actually just noting that we had the Library Advocacy Day earlier this month, and Nancy, I'm looking forward to your report later on in the meeting. It's just a very important time for us to advocate for all of our public libraries and the services that are provided. In addition, as you know, we have passed in past months a credit card policy, and that requires an agreement for any employees who are using the credit card from the library to sign an agreement and an understanding of use. And we have additional staff who have signed the credit card agreement, and we actually, as a board, need to ensure that we approve that at each time. So tonight, I'm going to make a motion to approve credit card agreements for the following employees. I will read them off. Our library director, Eugenia Shatoff, our head custodian, Robert Florin, Lisa Itzkowitz, the head of marketing and communications, Jean Manning, administrative assistant to the director, and Kira Aiello, head of adult services. May I get a second to the motion, please?
Second.
Second by Falah Cortez. Any questions or discussions with regard to the credit card agreement motion? No? Okay. Hearing none, I am calling for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Any opposed? Great. Okay. Passes. And that is my president's report. I will pass it on to our director for the director's report. Oh, sorry.
So another month has passed, a lot of busy work in the administrative offices as well as throughout the library. I wanted to draw your attention to the fact in the director's report, the list of meetings and trainings and discussions that are listed don't even begin to cover the entire breadth and scope of the ongoing work. So some highlights from my time. So we've had at this point our first two staff development trainings. So as I previously stated, we begin with a general staff meeting and then we head into a pertinent staff training. We also have a survey that staff fills out at the end to provide feedback to improve it for next time, as well as to provide potential future topics for training. I'm pleased to report that in the coming months, we do have our fire department and our police department are going to be coming in for staff development to run our first big fire drill with the entire staff, as well as general fire safety training. And the police department is going to be providing their CRACE training, which is a citizen response training in active shooter type scenarios. So lots going on at the library, lots of programming that we have for Black History Month, many different concerts, and particularly of note, the African dance class that we have going on has been, I've heard a lot about it from a lot of people, as well as our ongoing tax aid. So the AARP tax aid that we have going on in the building, extremely popular. People line up outside the doors just to sign up to be able to get tax assistance in the building. So we're grateful for that partnership that we have. The other big update is with the retirement of our head of technology. The administrative office has absorbed following up on E-rate. So those are those federal funds that are available to institutions like public libraries for technology monies, specifically for internet, high-speed internet, some networking, and maintenance of and surveillance of ongoing of our network and server and things like that. So that's something that in the interim, the administrative offices have absorbed. I don't know if there were any questions.
No questions? Okay. Thank you, Eugenia. Okay, we will move on to our committee reports. First is the Budget Committee.
All right. The Budget Committee met twice since our last board meeting, first on January 10th and then again on February 7th. I was present as chair. Corey Galloway, Lucia Renwick, and Eugenia Shatoff were present at our last committee meeting on February 7th. Eugenia reviewed for us the previous year's budget, looked at actual spending and fiscal year to date, and discussed adjustments to resource allocations. We looked at the spending today and which budget lines were underspent or overspent, and and also reviewed that there were certain budget lines that are either non-existent or that are not funded using best practices. So we're really reviewing the old budget and thinking about how do we improve based on best practices for the planning that we're doing for the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. And we dove into the planning process for this upcoming budget. Eugenia presented a first budget proposal that we reviewed as a committee. The goal is to present the committee's proposed budget to the full board at the next board meeting, March 13th. And we are addressing a few issues in terms of better funding certain key budget lines. And it's really about looking at the budget in a way that we future-proof it better than we have in the past, and anticipate how to better fund certain budget lines, which we'll share with you in more detail on at the next board meeting. We are going to develop a narrative around the budget once we share it with you, that we can then take to the public and show them our budget proposal. The next budget committee meeting is scheduled for February 28th at 12 o'clock, and the agenda will be posted on the website. That's my report.
Thank you, Rhiannon. Moving on to buildings and grounds, Cory.
Thank you, Lucille. Building and Grounds Committee met on February 7th. We started at 8:34 a.m. And we touched on the ARPA grant and MOU updates. Mainly the MOU, which is the memo of understanding, is clarity between the foundation, the library, and the architect, general contractor, and our project manager. The reason for this is to clarify the roles as funds are going to the foundation from New Rochelle, the city, and therefore they will be handling all the financial aspects of this project, which is built to improve parts of the library. What we're trying to do is make sure that there are clear roles of responsibility from the foundation. Rod role is a current contact, and he will be our point of contact in the foreseeable future, as well as other people within the foundation. We've created a final MOU, and we do need to do our final meeting with the foundation, which we've scheduled for March, I believe. Is that right? March 3rd, right? Just to make sure we're all on the same page. The reason for this, one of the main reasons for this is to manage Eugenia, our library director's workload. The MOU includes protections of Eugenia's time, and the construction contract includes support measures like weekly updates and back office assistance so that we get the most value out of our library director, and she's not completely committed to this one project. Next on is hiring a building supervisor, which Eugenia's been having phenomenal success in terms of highly qualified applicants. The new hire will help oversee the project as well as serve as evaluation overseer to make sure things are, what's that? Facility manager. Yes, thank you. Project start date on the ARPA grant project, we're hoping as early as April. We've agreed to continue to move forward as far as pushing the project along. In terms of other updates, there was 3 motions that were passed to open an account with the NYLA. We deposited $94,000 into that, but those funds are going to be used for the Buildings and Grounds Committee. The plan for those funds, which we've gotten approved by the Finance Committee, is a roofing study. Currently 5 proposals were solicited, 4 were received. Selected company will do an initial assessment, and then there'll be additional costs after. The other study is the window study, which is a full inventory that was conducted in 2010. And the company that quoted from the original study was $18,000. And we're still going through the proposals. From a priority point of view, the roof remains ahead of the window study. Lastly, there was an RFP we did in November on facility use study and the considerations on how long that would take. We really want to look at the entire building to make sure we're having an efficient usage of our footprint. This is really headed by the director, Eugenia. This is one of her projects that she really wants to get a hold of, and we're obviously in complete support of that. And so we do want to understand how we're using the facility and how to be most efficient of the space that we have and the limited space that we have. Lastly, we're looking at the HVA system. It is not as high priority as the other projects I just named, but it is on our list to take a look at that. It'll come after the space study is conducted, and we concluded our meeting and adjourned at 9:01 a.m. on February 7th. That is the Buildings and Grounds report. Thank you.
That was clear, Corey. Thank you. Comprehensive and clear. Moving on to Community Relations Committee, Nancy.
All right. Okay, the Community Relations Committee met on January 29th, and we discussed upcoming Advocacy Day, which I will give an update on after, and just the need to have a comprehensive approach to outreach and community engagement to the lot. We especially, again, spoke about two specific groups we wanted to target, which were seniors, and making sure that the library had adequate resources for translation for the Spanish-speaking patrons. We discussed different endeavors to help make this happen. We're going to work with Eugenia to come up with a more comprehensive approach that is thorough and utilizes some technology that we just acquired. Lastly, we discussed this year creating an advocacy toolkit when we go out for budget. And that's what we discussed. And last week on the 5th, I attended as part of the Community Relations Committee Advocacy Day in Albany. I went with a group of librarians and other people from Westchester Library Systems to lobby our state and assemblymen and state senators from the area from Westchester and for budget bills for operating aid for libraries, construction aid, materials aid, and an aid for subscriber resource that the libraries of New York can use called Novel New York. We also lobbied for 4 other policy initiatives. The Freedom to Read Act and the Open Shelves Act. One is for public libraries and one is for schools to ensure that libraries have access to all of the books that they deem necessary. We advocated for a new licensing reform for ebooks, which is a unique policy that libraries are advocating for in New York, but also in 21 other states that will change how libraries are charged for ebooks. And we also advocated for instituting more media literacy for librarians and school librarians in New York State. And we were able to meet with all of the elected officials, well, at least their legislative aides from our area. And I think it was a great success.
Thank you, Nancy, and thanks for taking the data to advocate for the libraries. Next is our Finance Committee, Vera.
Hi, the Finance Committee met on January 22nd and was attended by myself as chair, Lucille Renwick, Corey Galloway, Nancy Weinberger, Gina Shadoff, and Michael Marino, who's the representative of NILAC. Say a little bit more about that. The committee started by discussing the continuing recruitment of an interim treasurer, which is ongoing, and the need for other financial support in the administrative offices. We discussed the need to fund the 3 professional building studies that Ari referenced, the roof study, the window study, and a facility use study. It was proposed that the $94,000 that the library has received as reimbursement from the New York Dormitory Authority for work that's already been completed be put in the capital fund to be used for these studies. So then Michael Marino of the New York Liquid Asset Fund, NILAF for short, gave us an overview of his organization. He said the organization serves New York municipalities and operates on the principles of ultra safety and liquidity. So after Michael left the meeting, the committee approved or recommended 3 resolutions. So I would like to move these 3 resolutions. 1, that the Board of Trustees of the New York Public Library shall establish a NILAB account.
So that's the first?
First.
Okay. And so I will, there's a motion for the Board of Trustees, as Vera said, to establish an ILAF account, and I am going to ask for a second. Seconded by Nancy, and I will open the floor to any questions or discussions related. Any questions for Vera? Nope. Okay. Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor of the Board of Trustees, and for the New Rochelle Public Library to establish an ILAF account? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Second.
The second resolution, I move that the $94,000 received as reimbursement from the New York Dormitory Authority for completed work be placed in the NILAF account as a capital.
Thank you, Vera. So there's a motion on the floor. I'm going to ask for a second for the, okay, seconded by Corey. And I will open up for any discussion or questions for Vera. Regard to the motion. All right, hearing none, I'll call for a vote for the $94,000 received as reimbursement to be placed in the NILAF account. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, thank you.
And the third resolution, I move that these funds shall be primarily designated for the professional roof, window, and facility use studies.
Thank you, Vera. May I have a second to the motion? Seconded by Tatiana. And I'll open it up for any questions or discussion. Any questions for Vera? All right, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Second opposed? Any opposed? No. All right, motion passes.
And the meeting was adjourned at 10:10 a.m.
Thank you, Vera. Okay, we have the. Yep, yes. We have the Personnel Committee report, and that is me. There are a couple of things before I give the report. First, there is an employee raise that we need a motion and board approval for. And this is for Yvonne Pearson Collier, who is a part-time library clerk who will be moving from step 3 to a step 4 increase. So going from $23.48 per hour to $24.34 per hour. And I would ask for a second to the section. Seconded by Vera. Any questions or discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the employee raise from step 3 to step 4 for Yvonne Pearson Collier? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, so the Personnel Committee met twice between the time of our January meeting and today. Actually, we met prior to the January meeting in late December in a special meeting to discuss paid family medical leave. And this is a leave that's provided, this is a benefit that is provided to staff. And at that meeting, we made a determination that the library kind of acknowledged the policy. But we also recognized that there was more information that we needed to do our due diligence to find out how much it would cost the library and to do research based on our peer libraries and other public entities, government entities in the city. We recognized, however, that this was an important opportunity for the library and a helpful benefit for employees. We met again on January 21st to continue the conversation after receiving information and a report out by our director, Eugenia Shatoff, and that helped inform our conversation and discussion. We determined together as a committee, and this committee is made up of Tatiana Infante, Nancy Weinberger, myself as chair, and it was attended by our library director. And at this January 21st meeting, we determined that the benefit to staff through a paid family leave was important enough to warrant a payment by the library for this benefit and service. And therefore, we're presenting a resolution for the board consideration and approval. And I will read through this resolution for acceptance of New Rochelle to continue the paid family medical leave. So it's a little long. Bear with me. Whereas the library desires to provide an employee assistance plan, shortened to an EAP, to all employees, and whereas the EAP program selected by the library requires employees to have both paid family medical leave insurance and disability insurance, and whereas the New Rochelle Public Library, as a public employer, is not required to offer such coverages, but wishes to offer a comprehensive array of supports to employees, and whereas the library has now obtained such coverages in anticipation of putting the EAP plan into effect for all employees, and whereas to offer paid family medical leave coverage to employees covered by a collective bargaining agreement requires consent of the bargaining unit, otherwise known as the union, and whereas the board wants to ensure an orderly implementation that is well communicated to employees, be it resolved that the director and other duly authorized representatives of the library are authorized to work with the union to confirm the paid family medical leave coverage and disability coverage shall be offered per the current agreement for the remaining duration of the current contract without charge to employees or reduction or change to any current contractually assured benefit, and that pending completion of number 1, what I just read above, the director and other duly authorized representative of the library shall file and submit all required notices to implement paid family medical leave coverage to all employees to be effective no later than July 1st of 2025, which is the start of our fiscal year, and that pending the finalization of terms 1 and 2, what I just read above, the board adopts the following policies: the employee assistance plan policy, the paid family medical leave policy, which we'll hear a report out from our policy committee chair, the disability leave policy, that pending the finalizations of these items, the first that I read, the second and the third, The board directs use and maintenance of a New Rochelle Public Library employees' sick leave and family leave FAQ, frequently asked questions document, to provide simple and clear, plain language and guidance on how employees may utilize the different types of the EAP leave and insurance coverages available. And that this board confirms its understanding that the union is entitled to reject the provision of paid family medical leave insurance benefits either now or in a future contract, but directs its representative to seek mutual gains for the benefit of the library and the workforce. Okay. I know that was a lot. I am asking for a second before we engage in any discussion or conversation.
Second.
Second, thank you, Rhiannon. So with that, I would like to open the floor to questions or discussion. Okay, hearing none, I will call for a vote.
Could you read that again?
Yeah. Get ready. All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Great. Thank you all. That is the conclusion of the Personnel Committee report. All right, moving on, Policy Committee and Falah.
Hello, good evening, fellow trustees, Director Shatoff, our administrative staff, and the public. The Policy Committee has been very busy since our January meeting. We're continuing our policy discovery while reviewing and creating new policies. The Policy Committee met on January the 27th and February the 3rd. In January and February, our committee worked on several policies and advanced 3 policies at our special meeting on January 31st. The New Rochelle Public Library policy for immigration authority and law enforcement visits to the library and requests for documents. The whistleblower protection policy for the New Rochelle Public Library, and the Family and Medical Leave Act policy. I would like to thank Rhiannon Nevin for her work with the immigration policy, Tatiana Infante for her work with the Family Medical Leave Act policy, and the entire policy committee for their work on all policies. I just would like to note one thing. All of these policies codify and describe protections that are very important for our staff and the larger community in New Rochelle. And I'd like to underscore the library's commitment to all residents of New Rochelle, from our children to our seniors. Our library seeks to be a welcoming and safe destination for every resident of our very diverse city. And the library is committed to evolving its facilities, our programs, and services to meet the needs of New Rochelle residents. As a hub of community activity where locals come to read, learn, socialize, and engage in civic activity, we're guided by our shared values of building community by creating connections amongst our diverse populations in our neighborhoods, providing accessible, comfortable, inspiring, and well-maintained facilities where everyone feels welcome, investing in the technology that's required to create digitally literate citizens, offering a great library experience aided by friendly, knowledgeable, and well-trained staff, promoting the literacy, learning, and civic engagement necessary for a vibrant and healthy democracy, and serving every segment of our community. The policy committee also discussed the conflict of interest policy, which we agreed to present to the board tonight for consideration, discussion, and approval. All the trustees have received the policy prior to this meeting. So I would like to make a motion to consider the conflict of interest policy.
Thank you, Falah. May I get a second to Falah's motion?
Second.
Seconded by Vera. All right, I will open the floor to any questions or discussions related to the conflict of interest policy. All right, hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next policy committee meeting is on February the 24th, 2025.
Thank you, Falah.
Thank you.
And Next is the Special Projects Committee. Tatiana.
Like I said on the last meeting, we're working with the policy committee, so we're working together.
Great.
Nothing to report.
Okay, that's a good report, I think.
Okay.
Thank you. An important work to supplement the policy committee. Wonderful, thank you. We are now at the point of our meeting for public discussion, so I open the floor to the public. Okay. Hearing none, I then will call for a motion to adjourn. It's okay, seconded by Corey. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, then our meeting is adjourned at 8:10 PM. Thanks, everybody.